Good morning, friend. Welcome back to my kitchen. We have a big project we are going to get finished up today. I started this project yesterday. I have here 40 pounds of raw, boneless, skinless chicken thighs that are fresh. My brother-in-law has some connection through his work to buy bulk wholesale amount of chicken. And this is the second time I have ordered through him this year. Actually, it was last year because it was when I was pregnant. My sister and I ordered together a 40-pound box of chicken thighs when I was pregnant, and we did not realize that the chicken thighs comes in one big box all together that then has to be packaged up into more manageable size packages because you wouldn't want to freeze 40 pounds of chicken thighs all together. And so I went over to her house and we took these chicken thighs and put them into individual packages of about 6 chicken thighs per package, basically what we would want to cook for one single dinner. When we were breaking down the chicken thighs into manageable portions, we had the thought, man, if we had thought through this, we could have taken this chicken and put it into packages with a marinade so that when we take it out of the freezer, dinner's ready to go. You know I love to do that. And it's actually been probably 6 months or longer since I've had any marinated meat in my freezer, because the last 2 times I've done big freezer cooking days, I haven't done that because I've wanted full, complete meals to make my life easier. I was pregnant, postpartum. I just wanted meals that I could throw in the oven, microwave, whatever, dinner would be done. But now I'm really, especially because the weather's getting nicer and I've cleaned my grill, I would love to get some marinated meats in my freezer again. So I ordered 40 pounds of chicken thighs. I think I have 8 different marinades we're going to make today. But I have loved the convenience of having full, complete meals in my freezer. So we are going to be making some full, complete meals today as well for the freezer, not just marinades. So right here, I just put in 2 pounds of spaghetti pasta because we're going to make hopefully 4 chicken tetrazinis, not huge ones, smaller portions. Basically, I'm going to double my chicken tetrazzini recipe. One thing I've been loving is freezing meals in a little bit smaller containers. So I just bought these. I have 9x13 glass baking dishes that have a lid, but we've been liking smaller portions so that we can have it for dinner and then have like 2 lunches maybe, and then we can move on to the next meal. So I saw someone on Instagram have these. They're basically a cake pan, but they're dishwasher safe, oven safe, and freezer safe, and they come with a lid. This is the medium size. They have one that's smaller that's like a 9x9. This is a 9x10, I think, or I don't remember exactly. It's a little bit smaller than a piece of paper, and they have a 9x13 one as well. So I went with the medium size. So I'm excited. We're gonna freeze some meals in that, so that's gonna be new. I can link those down below for you, and we're gonna actually make dinner in that and see how it goes. Over here, I'm gonna get the chicken tetrazzini started. So I ordered 40 pounds of chicken thighs and 20 pounds of chicken breast. We have already together yesterday processed a bunch of chicken breast into full, complete meals. They're frozen in my freezer, and we're gonna bake off a frozen chicken pot pie. So the 2 complete meals we're gonna be making together are chicken tetrazzini and chicken pot pie. I went with recipes that are just family favorites. I need to look at this recipe. I'm not reinventing the wheel when it comes to these. It's just going with things that I absolutely know we love. Right now in this season of my life, if I'm gonna spend a bulk amount of time today in the kitchen, I really want these meals to be meals my family loves. Okay, so I need butter in here. I'm gonna get some mushrooms washed up. And I did do some convenience items so that we can get through this day a little faster. So I have some pre-sliced mushrooms, but I'm still gonna wash them. I know some people say not to wash mushrooms, but I always wash them, and I will saute them enough so if there's any extra moisture in there from the washing portion, I will just cook off the moisture. And we're gonna be turning this into a sauce, so a little extra moisture is just fine. We are making hopefully 4 chicken tetrazzinis, and I already made 5 chicken pot pies, which I will bring you back in time yesterday and show you how I made those. And I am going to be having a meal dropped off to my sister-in-law tonight. Both my sister-in-laws need meals tonight. My brother-in-law asked for some help. He said, we need a little bit of help with some meals, so this is what I do. So I can help with a meal. And my other sister-in-law did not ask for a meal, but she is 9 months pregnant, has 2 little ones at home, and I know that if I'm gonna bring her a meal too, because I know what that's like. I have never had 2 kids in 9 months pregnant, but I know what being pregnant with 1 kid is like, and so not having to cook and clean the kitchen is gonna be nice. So if I'm going into town to drop off 1 meal, I'm gonna drop off 2. And I'm already making these dinners, so it's no extra work for me. And I know both of them love both of these recipes. One's getting one chicken tetrazini and the other one's getting chicken pot pie. I told them what I was making. They put in their request. And we might make a dessert today because I feel like if I'm gonna bring someone to dinner, and my family would appreciate it too, they would appreciate a dessert. We'll see what we get to though. I thought I was gonna be doing all this cooking in one day today, but yesterday I got up before my kids and I started making the 10 pie crust we needed for the 5 chicken pot pies. And then my brother-in-law texted me and said that the chicken order was ready a day early. So then I had already made the pie crust and the chicken pot pie filling. So then after dinner, I decided I was gonna assemble the pies. So yesterday I got a ton done that I was planning to get done today. So today is going to be much easier than I originally thought, so that's nice. I normally do my big freezer cooking in one big go, but this time we're kind of breaking it up. So I have some pre-diced onions and celery. Normally I don't put onions and celery in my chicken tetrazini, but this was a substitution. I requested pre-diced onions, celery, and carrots, and when I made my chicken pot pie, they substituted it for this, and I didn't end up using this because my pickup order wasn't ready in time, and I had some, and it's a whole thing. So I'm just gonna add some celery into this, and that will be good. It'll cook down. You won't even know it's in there. And then I'm gonna add some onions from the garden from last year. I wanna get this going so that this sauce can be cooking away for me while we start working on those chicken thighs. And I'm gonna just break up these mushrooms a little bit with my spatula. So I asked Josh, I don't remember if I've told you this already or not. I asked Josh what he wanted for dinner tonight, chicken tetrazini or chicken pot pie, and he wants chicken tetrazini. I've never frozen a chicken pot pie whole before, so I'm really glad I got that put together yesterday. So today I'm gonna pull it out and bake one up from frozen because that needs to be dropped off at my sister-in-law's house tonight, and I want it to be fully cooked for her. So when she's off work, dinner will be done for her. I think my noodles are probably almost done. I'm gonna cook my chicken in here. This is gonna be a baked pasta, so I'm gonna run some cold water over this so that the noodles stop cooking. So I've kind of told you what I'm doing with the chicken thighs. We're gonna be basically marinating most of them. And then, let me go rinse this off in this off since I just did that over it. With the chicken breast, we are going to be making the chicken pot pie, which I've already made, and the chicken tetrazini. And then we're also going to be making some homemade, but I'm gonna do that on a different day. I wanna make homemade sandwich meat, lunch meat with it. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, but I've not had the energy. And I figured since I ordered, this is only 2 packages of 4 breasts here, which we're gonna turn into the chicken tetrazini. Let me get a plate. But I have 6 more chicken breasts in my refrigerator that on a different day we're gonna turn into lunch meat. I've never done that before. We're gonna brine the chicken breast, bake it up, and see how that goes. And I'm gonna freeze some of it so that I can see how freezing homemade lunch meat goes. I know people freeze store-bought lunch meat all the time. And lunch meat in my area is so expensive to get it from the deli at my local grocery store. It's anywhere from $12 to, oh yeah, I'm glad I sharpened my knife or honed it, because it's gonna make it easier to do this. But lunch meat in my area in the deli is anywhere from $12 a pound to $17 a pound. I'm gonna dice this up and we're gonna get this cooking. So while I'm dicing this, let me bring you back to yesterday and show you how I made 5 chicken pot pies for the freezer, and then we will bake one of those up today. My original plan was to do all of this chicken processing on one day. Well, not all of it. I do the lunch meat on a separate day, but to do the chicken pot pies, the chicken tetrazini, and all of the marinated chicken thighs all in one day. But the day before, I woke up before the rest of my family. I've got my daughter fed. She was back down sleeping, and I had this little pocket of time in the morning where I could get in there. And I was like, I'm going to get in there and just make the pie crusts, because obviously I could make pie crusts and I could put those in the fridge and they could wait for me. But just how this day unfolded, I was able to get the pie crust done. And then later in the day, I was able to cook the chicken. And then I thought, if I've got the chicken cooked and I've got the pie crust done, let's just go ahead and we're going to make these chicken pot pies on this day. It was I wasn't exactly sure what day I was going to be picking up the meat from my brother-in-law. And so I was like, I'm going to get done what I can get done, and which is these pie crusts. And then I could get some chicken cooked. And then we end up being able to do all of the chicken pot pie in one day. And that worked out so well. And let me tell you, homemade chicken pot pie in the freezer is amazing. I knew you could do this because you can buy raw chicken pot pie. I mean, the filling is cooked. The chicken's cooked. The sauce is made, but the crust is not cooked. It's not cooked all together. I knew you could do this because you can buy it at the grocery store, but I have never done this before. The only time I have frozen like a chicken pot pie thing is I do a chicken pot pie filling on the bottom, but I usually make it a little bit runnier than you would make for a chicken pot pie. I want a chicken pot pie filling to be pretty thick because I like when I cut into a chicken pot pie for it to be set nicely. And so I use my mother-in-law's recipe for that because it's perfect and delicious, the filling portion. So normally I will make I call it chicken and a biscuit, because we like the pot pie filling on the bottom of a baking dish, and then I make biscuits and I put that on the top, and we love that. But I love a chicken pot pie, but I have never frozen it before, and it's a lot of work to make a chicken pot pie. So I don't make them very often. I keep saying, I think I've been saying this for like 9 months or so, I would love to take some time to just have frozen pie crust in my freezer so that I could just pull out pie crust and make chicken pot pie filling and make a pot pie pretty quickly, but I have not got to do that. But what I have got to do on this day is I end up making 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pie crust. So a total of enough pie crust to make 5 chicken pot pies. I originally was only going to make 4, but then for some reason, I can't remember now at this point why I ended up making 5. And I'm glad I did, because we end up getting 5 chicken pot pies made. One of them I will bake up with you, and I send that to my sister-in-law who needed a meal. And the rest of them I throw in my freezer, and so that we can have chicken pot pie whenever we want, but we do not have to go through the effort of making chicken pot pie. Now, how I make my pie crust, I've shown this recipe 100 times to you all, but all I do is put flour, salt, a little bit of sugar in my food processor. I cut up some butter. I will link this recipe down below for you. I'm pretty sure it's 2.5 cups of flour, 1 cup of butter, a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of sugar, and is it a half a cup of water? Yes, a half a cup of water, ice water, give or take a tablespoon or 2. And then you can do that all in the food processor, and you've got the most delicious pie crust. You can leave the sugar out if you want. The sugar really just helps with browning. And so I put a tablespoon of sugar in, the equivalent of what makes 2 pie crusts. Because when you make that recipe, that gives you a bottom pie crust and a top pie crust. And this recipe is good for like a deep dish pie. I end up getting enough pie crust to make 5 chicken pot pies. I get 10 dough balls here, but I cut off a bunch of the excess because I end up putting these in just foil pie pans that you get at the store. And those are not as deep as my normal deep dish pie pans. And so I do get the equivalent of about 1.5 pie crusts in my freezer. So next time I want to make a quiche, I can just pull that pie crust out of my freezer, put it in my fridge overnight, and then I can make a quiche in the morning. So here you go. I've got my 10 pie crust. If you wanted to make a bunch of pie crust, you can just throw those in the freezer, and then the night before you want to use them, put them in the fridge, and they're perfectly thawed and ready to go. So after I finished those pie crusts, I thought that that's all I was going to do for this big project on this day. But then at some point I had another pocket of time that I was like, I'm going to make the filling, like the cream of chicken. So in this big Dutch oven, I've got butter and some onions, garlic, and celery. I bought this onions, garlic, and celery fresh at the grocery store, pre-chopped, for another recipe that I was going to do with you all, but I never got to it. And I was like, the onion, celery, and garlic are going to go bad if I don't do something with them. So I ended up just throwing them in the freezer. I didn't do anything except take the onion, celery, and carrots that were chopped. Did I say garlic? That was onion, celery, and carrots chopped. And I just went ahead and threw that directly into the freezer. It was about a week and a half or 2 weeks before this day. And then I just put that in with the butter. I added a little extra onions that were frozen from onions I had chopped, and I let that cook up together. And now we're going to add flour. So I will link this pot pie recipe. This is my mother-in-law's pot pie recipe, and it is my favorite. You could use frozen, pre-chopped carrots and peas too, a mixture of that if you wanted. I'm just using what I had on hand. So to that, once our veggies were cooked to how I wanted them, I added flour. I cooked out the flour, and then we're going to make our cream of chicken. To make a cream of soup, basically you just make a roux, you add butter, flour, cook that on the stove, and then you add chicken stock, and then you add milk or cream, whatever you want, and that will give you your cream of chicken soup. And it's super, super easy. So I think from here on out, anytime I make chicken pot pie, I'm not going to make just one chicken pot pie. I will make multiple because they freeze beautifully. I will show you how I assemble these chicken pot pies and how I freeze them, and then how I cook them from frozen. I didn't follow any particular recipe. I just took my mother-in-law's recipe, my pie crust recipe, and then I read a bunch of different articles on how to freeze pot pie and recook it, and that's what I did. So I will link the one recipe that I found that went into detail on how to freeze a chicken pot pie, but I didn't use that recipe, but any recipe is good. So there we've got a thick cream of, and then I'm going to add frozen peas. I don't add my frozen peas when I add my onions, carrots, and celery because I don't like my peas to get overcooked. I want to keep them less cooked, so I add them at the end, and then they will do their actual cooking when they go into the oven. So I wanted to get that part done too, because the one thing that I read a bunch of when it came to freezing pot pie is that you need your pot pie filling to be completely chilled before you put it in your pie crust, which makes sense because you don't want your butter in your pie crust. I mean, when you make chicken pot pie too, you don't have to make your own pie crust. Go to the store and buy your favorite pie crust if you want. And you could do this exact same thing. I should have mentioned that earlier. You can make homemade chicken pot pie filling and use store-bought pie crust, and you could freeze that, and then you could still have a convenience semi-homemade chicken pot pie for the freezer that you could cook for your family on a night you don't want to cook. So that's another good option. But the trick is you need your filling to chill. So it worked out perfect that I got the pie crust done early because I got those in the fridge to chill, and the filling done early in the day. So it was completely chilled before I put that filling into the pie crust. You want your filling to be chilled or at least room temperature before you put it into your crust, whether it's store-bought or homemade, because if you put hot filling in cold crust, the butter's going to melt, and then you're not going to get those beautiful flaky layers. And so it kind of just worked out with when I got the chicken and when I had time to do different things that I was able to get the pie crust done, get the filling done, have everything chill. And then a little bit later in the day, I got this chicken done. So let me show you how I am doing this chicken. So what I'm doing here is I cut the chicken breasts in half because these were huge chicken breasts. And I'm seasoning them with white pepper because I am completely out of black pepper, which is crazy, and salt. And then I'm just going to drizzle some olive oil over the top, and I'm going to cook these in the oven at 420 degrees for, I don't know how long it took me to cook them. I cooked them until they reached 165 Fahrenheit internal temperature. So whether that was 15, 20 minutes, I'm not sure. But that ended up being enough chicken for the chicken pot pies. The next day, we end up cooking more chicken for the chicken tetrazini. While the chicken is cooking, I am going to go ahead and start rolling out pie crust. This pie dough just came directly out of the fridge and it was a little bit stiffer than I wanted. So what I ended up doing was pulling out the rest of the pie crust out of the fridge. And as I was rolling out these two pie crust, I let the other pie crust come a little bit to room temperature. I didn't want them to be warm by any means, but they were just a little too chilled to easily roll out right from the fridge. And then if you're new to working with pie crust, one of the keys that I have found is when you saw me shape these, I really compressed that dough together. I did not knead the dough, I just compressed those crumbs together. And then I took the parchment and I kind of wrapped the parchment around the dough ball. And then I took my rolling pin and I used the rolling pin to compress that dough ball even more into a circle shape. So what that's doing is it's pre-shaping my pie crust and it's compressing everything together. So when we go to roll it out, we're not going to get as many cracks. And then I do put some flour on the top. I put some flour on the bottom. I don't usually flour my rolling pin. Usually that's enough. And then I can roll it out. Another trick when you're rolling out pie crust, if you're new to it, is to move the pie crust quite a bit, is not to just keep rolling and rolling, but to pick it up and rotate it, turn it on from the front to the back, and compress the edges together so it prevents cracking. Because once there's a crack, it will want to keep cracking and getting bigger and bigger and bigger if you keep just rolling it out. And so compressing the little cracks back together as you roll can help keep that pie crust together, which is really good. And then flipping it is good. And then you just keep rolling. And if it cracks, it's not that big of a deal. If you're working with pie crust and you're new to it, if it cracked all the way in half, pick up half the pie crust, put it in your pie pan, and then put those seams together and then just pinch them together with your finger and it will be just fine. I would say if you've never worked with homemade pie crust, I would encourage you to try it because once you have homemade pie crust, you will fall in love. I did not think I liked pie crust until I started having homemade pie crust, and then I realized just how delicious it can be. Especially if you put that little bit of salt in there and that little bit of sugar. Oh my goodness, with some yummy, yummy butter. And I always use salted butter too when I make pie crust, and it's just so good. So once I have the bottom layer done, I'm just putting them into these foil pans. I thought that I have, I think, 3 or 4 glass pie pans. I did not want to deal with glass pie pans. When I was doing this project, I wanted the convenience of these foil ones. I think I got these Josh picked these up at the store for me. And so what you do is you just roll your pie crust out until you think you have it to the size you need. And then to test it, you take your pie pan and you lay it over top of your crust. And if it has about 1 inch or 2 margin, then you know that your pie crust is big enough. So here I'm just testing the internal temperature. It looks like we got plenty of a cook on that. I'm going to pull that out and we're going to let those cool. We want those to be pretty cool before we add them to our filling. So now I have all my pie crust rolled out. I went ahead and rolled out all the tops, and while the tops were being rolled out, the chicken was just cooling to room temperature. And then I'm going to do the project of slicing, or not slicing, I am dicing all of this chicken into cubes. You could shred the chicken if you wanted. I prefer diced, so I am dicing it, and I'm putting a pretty small dice on it. I really do wish I had black pepper for this project because there's two things I love black pepper on the most, and it's chicken pot pie and macaroni and cheese. My mom would, when we would have boxed macaroni and cheese for lunch, she would always crack fresh cracked black pepper on it, and I love that. And on homemade mac and cheese, fresh cracked black pepper is delicious, and on chicken pot pie, fresh cracked black pepper is so good. But I didn't have any, so I used white pepper. I used what I had. Now at this point, our chicken is about room temperature, and so I'm going to go ahead and get this diced up. If you prefer shredded chicken, you could do that too. You could throw some chicken breast in the Instant Pot with some water, some seasonings, and cook that way and shred it up. You could boil your chicken or slowly simmer your chicken and do that instead. I just cut my chicken breasts in half, seasoned them, and threw them in the oven because I wanted them to get a little bit of color and I knew I wanted to dice them. So I got them diced, and now what I'm going to do is take my very chilled filling, cream sauce basically. I did put a piece of plastic wrap right on the top of it because I did not want it to get a film or skin on the top. And then that filling is super chilled because I made that earlier in the day. So now I am adding my chicken. I was going to add about half of it, and then the other half I was going to use for the chicken tetrazini. But then I ended up adding all of the chicken because I like my pies to be kind of heaping pies. I don't like them to be skimpy. So I added the rest of the chicken. I mixed that in with the filling, and then I started dividing the filling amongst the 5 pies. I didn't fill each one fully at first because I wanted to try to evenly distribute this filling. So I just did a couple scoops in one, and then a couple scoops in another, and then a couple scoops in another until I felt like each pie had the same amount of filling. And you can see this cream of soup is super thick because it is nice and cold. And this will set up beautifully once baked, and then cooled. It will be the perfect texture to be able to cut into it and have a nice set chicken pot pie. So at this point, I'm just going to top each one of these pies with one of the top pie crusts, and then I will seal the edges really well. What I like to do is really kind of crimp the edges together before I start sealing them, and then I cut away the excess crust. This is where I was saying earlier that because these pie pans are not as deep as my normal glass ones, I have enough excess that I cut off from all 5 pies that I end up getting the equivalent of probably 1.5 crusts. And I ended up putting that in my freezer. I was thinking I was going to make a dessert with it, but I ended up making a dessert that I already had prepped in my freezer for them. And that works out fine. My thought, because exciting news, my chickens are laying eggs. I found there's a few chickens that are basically free ranging right now. They hop out of the coop run every single day. And I found a clutch of eggs in this area. And I'm really excited about it because I now have in my refrigerator, I had 9 eggs that I collected yesterday and washed up. And then today I collected 3 more eggs. And so I am back in business when it comes to fresh eggs. And I know one of my chickens that's laying is my Easter egger because the eggs are green. They're so beautiful. I'm so excited. And I want to make a quiche with that the excess pie crust from these pies, because I definitely don't want that to waste all of the trimmings from this, because if it was just 1 pie I was making, then it wouldn't be that much. But when you're making 5 pies, it would have been too much to waste. So I am going to make a quiche with the eggs from my chickens, and I'm so happy about that.
And then one thing I always do when I make pie is I like to put little chicken feet on my pies. So I usually put 4 little paw prints on my pies. And so these are done now. I crimped the edge. I tried to put a little bit of a pretty edge as best I can. And then I am going to freeze these. I'm going to just flash freeze them in the freezer. I'm not going to wrap them up on this night. I'm not going to worry about that at all. They look absolutely beautiful. This is all the excess trimmings. So I just put those pies right in my freezer. I let them freeze. We'll wrap them up the following day. And I'll also cook one up the following day with you all so you can see what it looks like coming out of the oven. The one I cooked on the following day ends up going to my sister-in-law. And so I can't show you cutting into it because it was at her house, but I'll show you what one of these looks like cooked up and cut into at some point. But I'm just going to tell you now, it turned out perfect. I'll show you how I cook it, what temperature and how long for these pies. I mean, it's going to take different amount of time to cook depending on the depth of your pie. If you have a really deep dish pie, obviously it's going to take quite a bit longer. If you have a shallower pie like this one, it'll take a little less time. But here I am just putting all of that excess crust into a piece of parchment paper. I do end up putting this in my fridge, but then I realize we've got other things we've got to get to. I will be putting that in my freezer and we will make a quiche out of it later. Chicken pot pie is definitely one of my new favorite freezer meals because I love chicken pot pie and I can just throw one into the oven now and have a delicious dinner. But another thing that's my new favorite that you will see coming up very shortly is homemade lunch meat. And I cannot wait to share with you how wonderful that turns out. Oh my goodness. Stay tuned for homemade lunch meat because that's pretty exciting too.
So you can see I'm super excited about those chicken pot pies. If they cook up well, come on. I did get my stove fixed, but this burner has always had a little bit of a problem wanting to get started. Sometimes it just needs a little encouragement. Okay, in here, I'm gonna add a little more butter. I definitely cooked up or sliced up way more chicken than I typically would for this recipe. I probably only needed 3 chicken breasts, but we're just gonna make these chicken tetrazinis nice and chickeny. No one will complain there. And I've already dirtied this pot, so I might as well cook the chicken. I could cook the chicken and all of it in one pot, but we're gonna try to get this done faster since we already have to clean this pot. We might as well get the chicken and the veggies cooking at the same time. For the marinades, I am going to try something new too this year. I am going to try vacuum sealing my chicken instead of using a freezer Ziploc bag. We're just gonna do something different and see how it goes. I have my frozen garlic here. I wanna put that back in the freezer, so I'm just gonna put some of that in a bowl and we can get this frozen again. So at this point, the chicken breasts that I'm gonna be dealing with between yesterday and today are now taken care of. Now we're gonna start tackling this 40-pound bag of chicken thighs. So when I was with my sister, when I was very pregnant, all we did was take these chicken thighs, put them in a vacuum seal bag, vacuum seal them. And we didn't even cut the fat off or trim them or anything like that. And we thought it was gonna take us forever. And it only took us like 20-ish minutes. It did not take very long at all. So then when we were 3/4 the way through and we were going at this relatively quickly, we were like, man, we really should have taken the time to trim the excess fat off because both of us prefer that our chicken thighs trimmed up a little bit. And what we really should have done if we'd thought about it is turn these into meals. So she ordered this again when I was newly postpartum and she turned them into chicken teriyaki and different marinades. And I wasn't gonna be doing that at that point. So what I'm gonna do, this is gonna take me a while, is I am gonna take the time to trim off the fat. I'm gonna save this fat and these bits of chicken because I will put this in a bag and write broth on it. When I make broth next time, I will cook this and the fat that comes to the top, I will skim that off and freeze that and cook potatoes with it. That's called schmaltz, which is delicious. So let me think through this a little bit. I'm gonna go wash my hands and I'm gonna make up a little assembly line here where as soon as I trim these, I can put them into bags so I can wash my hands a few less times and kind of be a little bit more efficient. I want my bags set up so that I can just plop them right into the bags and I'm not touching anything. I probably will wear gloves when I do this. I'm gonna give this chicken a stir though. I probably will wash my hands 100+ times today. But I want to see if I can be a little bit efficient here. So, I've never done marinades in a vacuum seal bag before. But I think my vacuum sealer has the capacity to do that. I'm probably going to put anywhere from 6 to 8 chicken thighs in each of the bags because when I grill chicken, I love to have leftover chicken in my fridge so that I can eat that for breakfast or lunch or turn it into a different meal. If we had chicken teriyaki with broccoli and rice the night I grilled it, then the next day I could turn it into something else like chicken teriyaki salad, and then I already have pre-cooked cold chicken in the fridge. So I always do way more than my family can eat at one meal. Okay, I've had these for years and this one is not wanting to stay up. So I hope this will work for me while I do this today. So I'll probably do 4 at a time. I'm not sure exactly how many bags we're gonna get with this 40 pounds of chicken, but we're just gonna keep working until this box is empty. Oh yeah, this one is broken. Maybe now that one is in there, that one will stay up, hopefully. These ones aren't broken. And you could totally skip this step if you like the little bits of extra fat on your chicken thighs. I just know that if it doesn't render out when I cook it, we prefer not to bite into that. So when I do take the time to do this, I'm always glad I did, but I won't let this little bit of chicken go to waste that I'm cutting off. So I need to keep track. That's 3 chicken thighs. These are pretty big, so I might just do 6. We'll see. 4, 5, 6. I think I'm gonna do 8. That's 8 right there. I'm having a hard time keeping track how many I'm doing. So I'm gonna pull 8 out at a time, trim those up, and then I know that amount goes into one bag. Okay, I changed my mind. The beautiful thing about cooking in your own kitchen is you have the ability to change your mind. And I'm gonna do 6 in each. And the reason is, it's been so long since I've done this, so I kind of forgot that a lot of times when I pull out the marinated meats, I like to pull out 2 different flavors so that I can just grill them up. And then I, like I said, have a bunch of extra chicken in my fridge. And I think I don't need 8 in each bag if I'm gonna do that. So I'd rather have a few less and pull out 2 bags than pull out 1 just flavor, if that makes sense. So that's 6, 6, 4. So I need 2 more in here and 6 in there. I'm not perfect by any means when I trim this up. I'm just getting those really big pieces off that sometimes don't like to render out totally when grilling. And I got my grill cleaned up. It's supposed to be 74 degrees this weekend, which for us is very warm and sunny. Right now it's sunny. Yesterday it was super cold and torrential downpour. So I plan to work outside in the garden this coming weekend, and I will be grilling up some of this meat this coming weekend. That one looked really good. So that was, grab 4 more out. So I think what I'm gonna do is after I get 4 bags made up, I'm just gonna make marinades for those, and then I'll seal those and I can get those in the fridge, and we can just start getting things in the fridge as they are done. But I have not seasoned up my chicken yet. I'm gonna get some salt on there. Did I season this? I can't remember. I'm gonna put a little salt on that. And then I'm out of black pepper. I have an Azure order coming tomorrow with a pound of black pepper, but I have white pepper, so we're gonna use white pepper on both of these. That will be good in chicken tetrazini. I tried to shop my pantry for inspiration ideas. Sorry, I just squeaked my shoe on the floor. I've never done that before. And over here, I think, is where we're gonna do our marinade making station. Over there is gonna be the processing chicken station. So I picked relatively easy recipes. I basically just need these holders to hold up the chicken. And I don't know how many chicken thighs are in there, so I'm trying to figure out, maybe I do 2 of each marinade and go from there and see how far we get. Where's my recipes? Most of these marinades are dump and go. I'm not gonna be using the blender except for one, and maybe even then I won't pull the blender out. I was trying to come up with super, super easy ones. I've got teriyaki chicken, honey mustard chicken, maple balsamic chicken, tandoori chicken, honey chipotle chicken, honey lime chicken, a lot of honey because I have honey for my honeybees and I love a sweet, tangy or sweet, spicy chicken on the grill. Sesame chicken, and so we've got a lot. So we're gonna start with the honey lime and the honey mustard. I will link recipes down below for you, but mostly these recipes are gonna be inspiration. I'm not actually going to be measuring. I did just throw 10 pucks of garlic in the microwave so that we can have some thawed fresh garlic that'll be easier to work with. I'm trying to think of all the things I'm gonna need out of here, just so I don't have to come over here as much. I'm grabbing more than just what we need for the 2 recipes I said to start with. I'm gonna need more maple syrup, and I have 2. I know I'm gonna have to come back here multiple times. Yesterday I washed and processed a bunch of herbs. Don't look too closely in there, it's kind of a mess. I need to clean it. And I think we got a lot of ingredients we need. I only have 2 limes left, so for the honey lime chicken, I'm gonna put a little bit of lemon juice. I think that will be fine. I need oil. And I know I will go through all of this oil today. I'm gonna start with oil. And since I have my oil open, I'm gonna put it in all 4 of these. I'm gonna do 1 whole lime in each bag. And half of a lemon. We need fresh ginger. I'm gonna use this frozen ginger. This one sounds so good. This is one I've never made before, but I can tell you just with the flavors that go into it, it's gonna be delicious. Some sesame oil. I don't think sesame oil is in the recipe, but I grabbed it for another recipe and I love sesame oil and I think it would go well in this. A little bit of sriracha. I just microwaved my garlic, big spoonful of that, basically the equivalent of 1 puck in there. And we need our sweetener. Now this recipe says you can use honey or maple syrup. I'm gonna use honey from our bees. I'm just gonna put a good glug in there. I love honey with chicken. And while I have my honey out, I'm gonna put honey in my honey mustard chicken. Good glug in there. I don't know if my bees have survived winter. Josh is gonna be doing some bee maintenance here coming up. Last year, our bees did not survive winter. I have one bee colony, our hive, that we have really good hopes for, and then our other colony, we will be shocked if it survived because it just never did very well. I think these two are done. They are not done. They need a little bit of salt, and then I didn't realize this recipe calls for soy sauce, and so I need to go grab soy sauce. Found this little tiny bit of coconut aminos in my refrigerator. I'm gonna empty that because there's not even a tablespoon in there. And that way I can get that out of my fridge. Now I'm gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Soy sauce. So these two now are done. Let's finish our honey mustard. It already has oil, it has honey. I'm gonna put garlic. I'm not gonna worry about the red pepper flakes or the herbs. I'm just gonna add mustard and we're gonna call that good. This is already honey mustard I grabbed out of the fridge. I'm gonna open a new mustard for this. Stone ground is my favorite for this recipe. Big old spoonful. 4 are done. Now I need to figure out how I'm going to vacuum seal these, or not vacuum seal, how I'm gonna seal these. I've never done this before. Normally I do this in a Ziploc bag. I do need to mix up the marinade in the bottom here. I think I know how I'm supposed to do this. So there's a marinade button on my vacuum sealer. I might have to call Josh in here to help me. He's usually the vacuum sealer of the family, which is kind of funny. But I have mixed this pretty well. It's not perfect. I am going to try to get as much air out of here as possible. I think I'm going to take a paper towel and kind of wipe the edge just so that there's not liquid on the edge there. And obviously all of this will be wiped down and sanitized. When we're all done. And then I'm gonna hit on marinade. Start. Oh no, that's vacuum sealing. Is that what we want? I don't know. That did not seal. I need to get a plate to put that on. I think I got it. These bags are cool because they have a tear here thing where you can tear easily. Okay, now it's sealed so I can mix it a little better. And that there. I think I want to mix up the ingredients before sealing. Okay. So what I think I need to do is now mark what they are before I go stick these in the refrigerator. I'm gonna wash my hands. 4 down. I have no idea how many more to go. We will get a good system, but for now I'm gonna go pop these in the fridge and we're gonna get our sauce going for our chicken tetrazini. Chicken's done. I'm gonna turn that off. Mushrooms and onions are done. I had turned those off a minute ago because I didn't want them to burn. We're gonna add our garlic, our flour, and I'm not gonna add any white wine to this today because I do not feel like opening up a bottle. So we're just gonna use a little extra chicken broth. You can always substitute chicken broth usually for white wine. I do love white wine in this, but it'll be just as delicious without it. Turn this up a little bit, cook that flour. Chicken broth, heavy cream, This is one of Josh's absolutely favorite meals. And milk. The chicken's done, so I have that turned off. We just need this to thicken up. And that's going to take a few minutes. Okay, that smells incredible. I think I can get 4 more bags of chicken processed. Not the marinades made probably, but I can get them ready to go in the time it takes for that sauce to thicken up. This time I'm taking the bag and I'm going to flip the top over to keep that top cleaner while I fill it with both the ingredients and the chicken. So then when I seal it, I've got something that's not been mucked up. We'll see if that helps at all. And you know what I could do? What I think I'm gonna do, I will get a system down. I'm gonna make the marinade first. That way I can swish it around, mix it together, and then we'll add the chicken on the top. That will be better, I think. So let's see, we've done 2. Let's just do this grilled sesame chicken next because it's on this page and then I'm gonna put an X through that whole page and I don't have to look at that page anymore. And we're gonna do 2. Some of these recipes call for 1 pound of chicken. I'm just going by 6 chicken breasts, however, or chicken thighs. That makes. So this was 1/4 cup soy sauce, garlic. I'm gonna need to get some more garlic out. That way I can write on these bags too. It'll be easier to write on the bags. So we have the next ingredient is brown sugar. I have maple syrup and honey out. I don't feel like getting brown sugar out, so I'm gonna do maple syrup instead. That'll be good. 2 big glugs of that. Ginger. A good amount of sesame oil. Vinegar. Tahini, which is ground sesame paste, which I've never added to a marinade before, and I think that's a brilliant idea. That will be delicious. And sesame seeds. This would be good with honey too. I think I'm gonna add just a little bit of sriracha in each one of these because why not? And that will be delicious. And then a little bit more oil because it only has the sesame oil in it. A couple tablespoons. We're done with that whole page. So the next one, let's do maple balsamic. That will be delicious. And we'll get that done in these 2. So I did need to open a new balsamic vinegar. This is my absolute favorite balsamic vinegar. It's super thick. I don't know if you can tell, but it's thick and rich. Almost like a glaze, but it's not a glaze. So a couple tablespoons of that. And it's super sweet. A couple good glugs of maple syrup. Couple good glugs of olive oil. Very technical measurement. Big spoonful of garlic. And that's all the garlic that I have thawed. And then it also calls for hardy herbs like rosemary and thyme. Those are not my favorite, so I'm just gonna keep this pretty simple. I'm gonna add 2 pinches of salt. and white pepper because I am out of black pepper. While I'm over here grabbing the white pepper, I'm gonna stir my sauce, which is nowhere near thick enough. A couple good sprinklings of that. So this might work well where we're kind of going back and forth. White pepper definitely has a little bit of a different smell than black pepper. While I have this out, I'm going to go ahead and label it. It's going to be easier to label without the chicken. This is maple balsamic. Always label. I think I will remember what's in the bag, and I will not. And by the time we're done, we will have a good system here. It says it's 4:30 right now. My clock is not right. It is sometime in the morning. I have no idea what time it is. I can rarely trust my clocks because we lose power all the time. And so my clocks are never right. We do have a generator, so the generator does kick on, but it usually takes a minute or two for the generator to kick on, and then we've already lost the time at that point. Did I do maple syrup in this or honey in this? I think I did maple, but this is sesame chicken. When you're thinking of marinades, you can make them up. Basically, what you want to try to think of is having a sweet component, an acidic component, and then some oil. So the sweet component could be fresh fruit, it could be a jam, it could be a sweetener. The oil could be whatever kind of oil you prefer to cook with. And then the vinegar, or then the acidic component could be any sort of like vinegar you like or citrus juice you like. You can really do whatever you want. So when I think of things, I usually just try to think of something as an inspiration, and then you see, I kind of make it up as I go. One thing I love about having marinated meat in my freezer is sometimes I have a mental block of trying to figure out what's for dinner, because dinner comes every night, 365 days a year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why a lot of times I do ask Josh, like, hey, what do you want? Because it helps me not have to be the one to think of things all the time. So if he can think of something, it kind of takes some of that mental load off me. I don't mind making it. It's just nice sometimes when someone else thinks of the idea. But one nice thing about either having freezer meals in my freezer or these marinated proteins is it's a jumping off point. I can just go into my freezer and see what I have and grab something, and that takes the thinking out of it for me. Just the last few months of pregnancy and postpartum, I wanted everything in my freezer to be basically heat and go. But now that the weather's getting nicer, I'm getting a little bit farther out of postpartum, still really, really new in postpartum, but I have a little bit more capacity. We're sleeping better. I already counted out these chickens. I'm counting them as I'm putting them in there, but I don't have to do that. I'm excited to have some marinated proteins back in my freezer. Chicken thighs are probably my favorite. Sometimes I do pork tenderloin, sometimes I do chicken breast, but all the chicken breasts are going to be turned into chicken tetrazini, chicken pot pie, and lunch meat. 20 pounds of chicken went really fast. I'm kind of shocked how fast that went. I guess this one's going into the next one. That's one, so I need 5 more. So now I want to work toward rebuilding my freezer stash because it's getting pretty low. What I would love to have is a freezer full of homemade, ready, set, go meals, which we're working on that. We've got now chicken pot pies. I'm going to have 4 of them after I give one away today. And we will have some chicken tetrazini. I think I'll have 2 in my freezer after I give one away and we have one for dinner tonight. And then we're going to have, obviously, I'm not sure how many bags yet, but quite a few bags of marinated meats. So I would like to kind of have a good combination so that on the nights I can't think of what to cook or I want something easy and I don't want to mess up the kitchen. That's half of why I like doing freezer meals, is not only is it nice not to actually sometimes have to do the cooking, but it's really nice not having to clean up after. And it's one reason why when I have time to dedicate toward a huge big processing day, it's nice because I got a ton of ingredients out. I'm gonna use those ingredients for multiple different marinated recipes. 1, 2, and I only have to get them out and put them away one time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got these done, and I'm getting through this chicken a lot faster than I anticipated. Well, let's see how this goes with my new technique here. My sister has a chamber vacuum sealer, and maybe that's why she can do this a little better than I can. On. Seem to have a good workflow here. It always takes me just a minute to kind of figure out the most efficient way to do things. Get this last one sealed up. Then we can go get these 4 packages in the fridge. Okay, I'm gonna get these 4 into the fridge. Okay, I just got washed up real good because we're gonna finish this. Because this sauce is basically done. Our chicken's cooked, our noodles are cooked. I kind of want to get this buttoned up here. So now we're going to add Parmesan cheese. I'm going to add 2 containers, and then we still need to taste this sauce. And this sauce will seem kind of runny, but once it bakes up, it's perfect because the noodles do absorb some of the sauce. But we have to season it or taste it for seasonings, salt, pepper, things like that. So good. I do think it needs, though, a pinch more salt. Whoop, throwing salt all over. And I'm gonna add some more white pepper. White pepper just has a different smell than black pepper, which, I mean, makes sense because it's a different pepper, but it's definitely different. Okay, that is perfect now. I always like to taste it after adding the cheese just to make sure the seasoning level is on point. I'm gonna do this over here because my other counter obviously has stuff on it. And I'm gonna mix this in a big bowl because it'll just be easier. I don't think I'll be able to get all the chicken and sauce and noodles mixed together in one of my pots. So it might seem a little runny, but it won't be once it bakes up. I will scrape all of that out of there, but I'm going to just get this mixed up first. So I've never used these before. I'm really excited about them. I think I'm really gonna like them. But I do think I want to spray them with a little bit of nonstick spray. Normally I don't spray my baking dishes. I washed them yesterday. And I think I'll be able to get 4 of these plus a foil pan for my sister-in-law out of this double batch because these aren't very deep. All right, maybe I won't get 4 of those. Maybe I'll just get 2. Because I want to make sure there's enough for my sister-in-law. I got 3 of these, which makes sense because this recipe is supposed to make one 9 by 13, and I doubled it. So, and I probably was more than generous with the mushrooms and the chicken and things. So it makes sense that I would get 4 of these smaller pans. And we are going to add some breadcrumbs. I can't get the thing off there, so I'm just going to cut the top off because I think we'll go through most of those, hopefully. Well, maybe not. I'm not sure if we're going to go through all of them. Probably not. I'll just put them in a different container, which will be fine. This adds a nice little lovely crunch on the top. Ooh. So if this works well, how nice is that to throw that in the freezer just like that? These are still very warm. I'm actually going to take the lids off, let them cool a bit, and then we'll get them in the fridge and freezer. Well, now I can't get the lids off. And now I'm going to go make up 2 more marinades while these cool a bit. In, out, in, out, in, out. Let's see. Where's my pen? We've done lemon garlic. Oh, no, we haven't done that one yet. We did maple balsamic. I have 1, 2, 3 left. And I think I have just enough chicken to get 3, but I might only have enough chicken to get 2 more. So the ones that I for sure know I want are going to be a little bit different. So the next 2 we should do are going to be honey chipotle, because that's just a favorite, and tandoori. So that's something a little different. When I thaw that out, I'll probably either cook up some flatbreads that I get in the mail from Wild Grain. They have really good pitas that are sour. I think they're sourdough. Or make up some flatbread, or I've been wanting to try the pitas from Costco. Tandoori chicken. Or we'll have tandoori salads would be really good. So I'm trying to think of some things that are a little different than the ones in case I only get these next 2. Chicken. And you know what? When my son came in here just a minute ago, he requested yogurt. Josh got him yogurt. And I don't know if I have enough yogurt now to do the tandoori chicken, because yogurt is a favorite and I have a hard time keeping it in stock around here because I eat a lot of yogurt too. I might only get, maybe there'll be enough to do 1. Hopefully, I already wrote on these bags. You know what I have if I don't have enough yogurt, which I don't have enough yogurt, is I know I have sour cream, so I could substitute sour cream. And I don't even think there's enough yogurt in here for 1 serving. So I think I'm gonna just keep that yogurt in my fridge so we can just eat that. And I will substitute sour cream in the tandoori chicken. Oh, it looks like it got a little frozen in my refrigerator. I need to get more garlic for the rest of these recipes. So let me thaw this, and then I need some special spices that I don't have out yet for the tandoori chicken. So I'll get that and I'll be right back. Woo! So because it's got a little frozen in my fridge, it's probably best that I am using it for something like this. That is my sour cream or yogurt. Now I'm gonna add garlic. Probably should grab a spoon. I don't really want to spill all of that in there. That would be a disaster. Close this. Now for the chipotle chicken, I need cumin as well in the tandoori. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put cumin in all of these so I can set this spice on the other side over here, knowing that it's in both. I need coriander for both. I didn't plan this, but this is nice that these call for the same ingredients. Those are gonna go in there. And then smoked paprika, we need in both. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that in both. We'll add salt to all of them, and I'm setting them on the other counter just so that I know that it's in all of them. Oil. Lemon juice. This is the Chipotle honey bag. And we need some cinnamon in our tandoori chicken. The honey chipotle, we need obviously honey. I normally blend this up, but I'm not going to do that today because I don't feel like getting the blender out. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in a bunch of chopped cilantro. And then because I have it, this is not in either of these recipes, I'm just going to put a little handful of sliced green onion. I need some of it for another recipe I'm making later, so I can't use all of it, but that'll add some good flavor. I don't think I added garlic to my honey chipotle yet, so I'm going to add some of that. And then I just need to add chipotles in adobo, which I found this in the pantry. You can buy this in a jar already pre-diced, and it's really the only way I like to buy chipotles in adobo now because one, it comes in a jar with a lid, so you can screw the lid back on and put it back in your fridge. And two, you don't have to chop it. And normally, like I said, I throw this in the blender and I blend all the ingredients, but we're not doing that. I'm just gonna grab a pair of scissors. I think I have 4 pairs of scissors in my drawer, and I just throw them in the dishwasher after every use. And I find scissors come in handy. These are not specific like cooking shears or anything like that. But I'm gonna put a good heaping spoonful of chipotles in adobo with the sauce. A little bit more of the sauce. That is one of my most favorite ingredients of all time. So now I'm gonna get all of these mixed up. You know, I might add a little bit of water to the tandoori chicken because sour cream is obviously a little bit thicker than yogurt, just so it mixes a little easier. And then I'm gonna get the chicken trimmed and get that in here. That smells good. I love the warm spices with chicken, like clove or cinnamon, cardamom, those types of things. And there's cinnamon in this, and this is a really yummy cinnamon. So yummy. I'm kind of shocked how fast this is going. I thought this part, processing the chicken, was gonna take a whole lot longer, but it's not. I used all of the garlic from one of the bags, and there's a little bit of garlic on the inside. If you're with me, we processed last year's garlic with my parents, and I double bagged the garlic so it doesn't stink up my freezer. I'm gonna put my chicken scraps in this and then label it broth, just reuse that bag. Might as well, it just has a little garlic in it. That won't hurt the broth. And that will be good. Reuse that bag, it's kind of perfect timing. And I don't know if I'm gonna get much more than these 4 bags here, so we'll see. I can't remember how many we've done already. I think we've done 8 bags total. And this would be 12 maybe? I need to count them out or I will forget. So that's 2, 4, 6. Now I got my chicken ready to go for those marinades, but I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chicken thighs left in here. And I want some chicken thighs that are just plain, so I'm going to just trim these ones up, put these last in a bag so that next time I need chicken thighs and I don't want them seasoned with anything because I'm going to use them in a recipe or something, then I have them. So instead of marinating these ones too, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9. I'll just throw these into one bag. Well, 9 seems like a lot. maybe I'll take one of these out and I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 in one bag that'll be just plain, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, five and 5 because I have 10 here. So we'll have 5 chicken thighs in just 2 bags. So we'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 marinated bags of chicken thighs in 2 bags of plain and 1 bag ready to go for broth making. That piece I did not want to keep. Okay, I figured since I had gloves on and everything, I was just going to trim those up. I should have put them in bags. It's okay. I'll have to wash my hands many, many more times, so it won't be a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and get these ones vacuumed sealed. And then I do want to get some sort of dessert in the oven. I was potentially going to be making a dessert, but we're not doing that right now. So I've got some frozen desserts that can just be baked. We're going to go with that. I'm not going to be making any more desserts today. This smells so good. This is the tandoori chicken with some tomatoes and cucumbers, pickled onions. Yum. All right, that was the end of processing the chicken thighs. We still have more work to do, but what I think I'm gonna do now is get these in the fridge, wash everything, sanitize everything, put everything away, and then we'll go on to the next step that we need to do today. I'm still in the middle of cleaning and doing dishes and putting all the things away, but my oven's preheated. And I thought I had more in my freezer desserts that were frozen, but I seem to just be able to find these apple bites. These are from Wild Grain that I got around the holidays, so I want to use them up. They're like little apple pies, and there's 8 of them, and there's 4 in each family that I'm bringing a dinner to tonight. So this will just be like a little sweet, literally a little sweet treat at the end of the day. The kitchen has been completely sanitized. All of the dishes are washed by hand. The dishwasher is running. I do have some dishes in my sink that need to go into the dishwasher, but this is what processing, I bought 60 pounds of chicken. I have 6 chicken breasts left in my refrigerator. I'm actually going to be, as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna be making up the brine, and I'm gonna get that brining, and we're gonna turn that into sandwich meat tomorrow. So this is that's probably 6 chicken breasts. They're probably about a pound-ish each, give or take. So I'm gonna say this is probably a little over 50 pounds of chicken that we have turned into convenient meals. I'm gonna bake one of these up in a little bit to bring to my sister-in-law. So I'm keeping 4. And this is gonna be awesome. So if I need to bring a meal to someone, instead of having to go through the effort of making it, I can just pull one of these out. Or on a night I don't want to cook, I will just pull one of these out. Now it does say it's going to take an hour and a half for this to cook. It's going to take a long time from frozen, but the idea is you just stick this in the oven from frozen. That's what I read. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that tonight, and I will show you what it looks like coming out of the oven. I know it's going to taste good, like my filling's good, my pie crust is delicious. It's just doesn't bake up well. I've got to look at the time. I don't even know what time it is. My ovens say it's 6:30, but I know it's probably, my phone says it's 2:22. So let's see, I need to do some math. So I need to put 3. I'm actually going to preheat that oven back up, and I'm going to get one of these in the oven right now. because it's okay if it cools a bit. It'll be easier to slice into. And then I'm gonna text my sister-in-law, my other sister-in-law for the chicken tetrazini, and I'm gonna ask her if she wants it out of the oven or if she wants to bake it herself. I know the one that's getting the chicken pot pie will want it already cooked. I don't even need to ask that. And that one is this one, so I'm not going to saran wrap that. I'm going to put that back in the freezer, and I will, actually, let me preheat my oven right now. My oven's still hot from baking those apple pies. That does not fit. But I do need to cover this with foil while it bakes because I don't want that top to get too brown before it gets fully cooked through. Let me get, I just Googled how to cook a pot pie from frozen. And I have my oven set to 375. I'm gonna bake it halfway covered, and then I'll take it off and bake the rest uncovered. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 packages of marinated chicken for the freezer, which is kind of the start or base of a recipe. 2 tandoori chickens, 2 maple balsamics, 2 sesame honey, or maple, I can't remember what I put in there, 2 honey mustard, 2 honey chipotle, and 2 honey lime. I have those on baking sheets. They've been in the refrigerator. I'm gonna freeze them solid like that. There are 2 packages that are plain. I forgot about those. So yeah, probably this is 50 pounds of chicken represented here. I've got these packaged up. That was super easy. I'm gonna put the lid on. These 2 are gonna go into the freezer. This is gonna go in the fridge, and I'm gonna bake this. I guess it doesn't really matter. This one and this one for my sister-in-law for dinner tonight and for us tonight. There you can see the dishes that still need to go in the dishwasher. My dishwasher has 22 minutes left, clean dishes that just need to be put away, and this chicken that's gonna go into the freezer along with our 4 chicken pot pies. You know what I might do? I'm probably gonna keep one of these out of the freezer, probably this one, because this is probably my favorite, or this one is, I've never made this before, but this sounds really good, and I will grill this up. Well, I don't know. I'm cooking tomorrow too, so I'm gonna throw all of that marinated chicken into the freezer. And this is great too, because if we are having like a potluck or something and I need to bring something, I could always volunteer, hey, I'll bring the chicken. I could bowl 2 of those chickens out and grill 2 packages, and then I could put that in the slow cooker just to stay warm. I did that before and it works great. I don't cook the chicken in the slow cooker, I just keep it warm. And chicken thighs are perfect for that because they don't dry out like chicken breast. So I will show you what this looks like coming out of the oven, and I will put something right here letting you know, yes, it's a winner, or no, it's not. I will bake up more of those chicken pot pies with you sometime in the future. Once those apple pies cool, I'll package those up. And then probably on the way to drop these off, I'll stop at the store and get 2 bag salads so that it is a complete meal. And that will just come together really, really easy. So this was incredibly successful. I'm gonna get all this in the freezer, and then I'm gonna start a brine for brining those 6 chicken breasts that we have left to try making our own lunch meat. So that's gonna be fun. So thank you for being here. If you wanna watch some more videos, let me pop them there. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.